Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, this is on increasing student engagement for elementary. I just put if you don't already have the bit.ly, I did add it to the chat. It is on the screen, but here it is again in case you want the presentation for this. As you're working with your teachers this year, it'd be a good resource for you to come back to all the links and things. So once you get into it, you may want to go ahead and bookmark it or save it into your drive so that you have it. All right, so my name is Karen Goebel, and I am a digital and okay, let me do this. I'm in digital and personalized learning program coordinator. So you see me around a lot on the different campuses, going around working with all the digital resources, but also helping teachers to personalize their learning in their classroom. My email address is also on this screen as well. So if you need you have any questions, you need to email me. If I don't know the answer, I'll get you to the person that can get you that information. So in this session, we're actually going to, hold on, let me hit something here real quick. So in this session, we're actually going to look at how we can increase student engagement by using the station rotation model and utilizing digital-friendly pedagogy. So we're going to look at some different apps and activities and things that you can use in those stations. And we're going to talk about how we can set up the station rotation model. I'm actually going to show you a lesson I created using our Klein curriculum. All right. So we're hearing a lot in this new world we're in right now about hybrid teaching. I'm still not in a spot. Let me shrink that down for a minute. So we're hearing a lot about this hybrid. I like the term concurrent teaching because basically what our teachers are doing right now, a lot of them, they are having kids that are in their classroom and that are doing synchronous, or they have virtual students that are doing synchronous or asynchronous. So they're actually doing both of these combined together, a kind of hybrid teaching, so to speak. What we don't want to see happening, though, is for teachers to just be live streaming their classroom and kids are just sitting at home, not just kind of passive, just watching what's happening in the classroom by viewing it through Zoom. We want to look at ways that we can increase that student engagement in these classrooms for all of our kids, not only the ones that we have in the classroom, but for the ones that we have that are online as well. And we don't want it to really be virtual teaching to just some of our kids in the classroom. We don't want our teachers to just be standing staring at the Zoom screen all day either, and the kids in the classroom are just kind of watching on Zoom as well. So we want to look at ways that we can make all of our students, no matter where they are, if they're sitting at home or they're sitting in our classrooms, they have to feel that they're part of our classroom community. And in this year, it's a little harder than it's been before. We have to work at building those relationships and getting those kids to feel like they are connected. Okay, so as we think about how we're going to plan for this concurrent instruction, we know that planning is going to be the key. It's going to be so important. We are going to focus on building relevancy of that content, because if the kids don't see the relevancy of what they're trying to learn, then those that are sitting in that virtual setting and they're feeling that disconnection, then they're not going to learn the content, okay? We also have to realize that it's going to be smaller steps. We've got to go a little slower at times. We're going to have to prioritize which TEKS are we going to focus on, because we have shorter attention spans from those kids who are watching and connecting with us virtually, okay? Engaging students in activities and experiences that do not create gaps in experiences. So what we don't want to happen is we don't want those Klein Online kids to not feel like they belong or have built relationships with the teacher or have built relationships with the other kids in their classroom, okay? We want them to feel that they are connected, all right? So we're going to have to plan for that. We're going to have to be intentional in ways that we are building those relationships. Plan for key points of formative assessments. We're going to have to be very we're going to have to intentionally plan so that we get good data, that we get data and feedback on where these kids are. Some of the things we could use could be Nearpod. We could use discussion boards in Schoology to get a quick formative assessment so that you can quickly assess. And it's one thing that I'll go to this in the next one. And we also have to allow our kids to be able to self-reflect and self-assess. And one thing that I love about Schoology, well, I love a lot of things about Schoology, but one thing that I love that it does is that it allows teachers to connect the learning objectives to the assignments and the test questions so that it builds mastery. That mastery piece in Schoology allows kids to be able to self-reflect and to self-assess where they are. Do they understand that concept? They can use that mastery to be able to see, what do I need to work on? What do I need to improve on? It also lets the parents see, what do I need to do for help to help my student? And then as they are planning for this concurrent instruction, we want them to realize that you can make the best laid plans, but give yourself grace, because there are going to be times where the lesson is not going to go the way you thought it would go. Things are not going to work the way you thought it was going to go. So they've got to be able to be easy, not easy on their, I don't mean, well, let's see how would I put that, but give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up because, oh, I planned that out. Realize we're all in a fail forward. We're going to learn and give ourselves that grace to do that. Okay, so as we start planning for that concurrent, we have to also realize when I'm planning my lessons that the learning pace is going to be much slower virtually. We already know we have that COVID slide that is going on. We know that our kids are behind from where they were or would have been had we not had to sit out most of the spring with not being in the classroom. So one thing is the teachers have to prioritize as they look at the TEKS. And I love this lead forward. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link and take you here, because what's cool about this, I'm just going to scroll down and let's just grab math right here. First grade math. So as you look at these standards, you're going to have to realize I've got to make sure they understand these readiness standards. Maybe I'm just going to focus on these. We're going at a much slower pace. So you're going to have to prioritize. You can't try to hit all, how many is this? 10 of these. You're going to have to say, okay, I'm going to really make sure they understand all the readiness standards. Also, what I like about Lead Forward, if you'll go up here under instructional tools, they also now have their virtual instructional strategies playlist. They've got these that the teachers can go to and see different playlists that they've built on how to reach kids virtually. So Lead Forward is a great, hope I didn't just, thought I had closed out my presentation. So a great resource for our teachers as they have to prioritize what are we going to focus on, because we know the learning is going to go slower with these online and asynchronous and synchronous, all of it happening at the same time. Student grouping is going to be key, making sure that they use their data that they're gathering and intentionally grouping those kids so that they're working with those kids that have these needs and these kids and pulling them that way. Relevance to students, they're going to have to work in smaller time chunks, which is why up here where we said they have to prioritize their lessons. What are they going to focus on? Because we already know that the attention span is much shorter in those virtual settings. We've got kids that are sitting at home and all of a sudden the dog runs up and tries to jump on them and play with them, and now all of a sudden squirrel, they're off that way, and it's hard to get their attention. Or all of a sudden they see their guardian or their parent or whoever is with them at that time. Maybe they've gone off to make get a snack, and the kid decides, hey, I'm hungry, I want to go get a snack, and then they're off. So that attention span is going to be harder and harder to keep them focused. So we've got to work in smaller chunks, smaller time chunks, okay? More variation, getting them, switching, don't plan a Zoom where you're going to lecture and talk for long periods of time, because that they're just not going to get it. Another thing, and we'll look at it, well, I'll come back to that one. And then making sure the formative data that you're gathering, because this is the data you're getting, you're going to have to make sure you're intentional about what you're going to use to grab that formative assessment so you know where your kids are. Another thing that I like on this is, as we think about how we're planning, we've always got to come at it from a virtual lens. And what we mean by that is we have to remember, whatever we're planning for those kids that we have here, we also have those kids that may be at home. And are they going to be able to access all the materials? Are they able to see me through the Zoom? Can they hear me? Can they see me when I'm doing something on a whiteboard? Can they talk and interact with the other students that are in the classroom so that they build those connections that they need to that learning community? So we've got to make sure at the very bottom here that they are feeling connected to the group. If we do not make sure we are intentional about building those relationships with those students that are at home and the ones that we have in the classroom, that deeper learning is never going to happen unless those kids feel like they are part of our classroom. And what we don't want is for our kids, when they do come back to our classroom, for them to think, I don't know who are these kids in my class? I don't know anyone, or they don't even know the teacher. So we've got to work at building those relationships, which is why we built everything else on top of making sure that they feel connected. All right, so some teaching strategies and tips that can help those. Whenever possible, try to use the same materials for both your online and your face-to-face. Making sure that you remember that virtual lens, that your students that are online can access and get the same access to the same instruction that the kids in the classroom have. Remember also that the lesson pace slows down. The wait time is going to be longer for these virtual kids. It even is going to take them longer to process these things. And remembering that when you transition, like you've been teaching math and now you're going to go to science, and you tell the kids to get out this, a sheet of paper. Well, mom may have moved all their stuff when she was cleaning the night before, and now all of a sudden they're off because they've got to go find their classroom materials, because their transition is not like in a classroom where you just tell them to get their pencil out of their desk. Oh, all of a sudden their pencil is in down the hallway and in their bedroom or something. So transitions are going to be longer in that virtual setting. Using teams and collaboration to build those relationships putting your Klein Online with your Klein on Campus kids in this breakout rooms together, or allowing them to work on a Google slide together collaboratively. Great ways to build that collaboration. And I love this one, talk less, smile more, which is actually, I hope I'm smiling enough, but I know I'm talking a lot in this. But when we think about the building our lessons for our kids, I was reading an article earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, but anyway, and it was talking about, they're doing some studies now where they're seeing that if you're just doing all your stuff on Zoom, that the retention of the knowledge, it's way lower. But when teachers do pre-recorded, maybe a 5 or 10 minute pre-recorded lesson, then the learning goes way up. Their student engagement increases because the kids are more in tune to that video versus them trying to look in at that Zoom and see what's happening in that classroom. So if we can encourage our teachers to do a little more of the pre-recorded lessons, we're seeing in a lot of studies that are coming out now that the engagement is going way up when it's happening in that kind of classroom. I'm remembering, and that virtual lens there links back to that one where I was talking about how we've got to always, no matter what, remember that we've got to plan with that virtual lens on, where we're making sure the kids can access all the materials. Building in some interactive tools periodically throughout that keeps those kids actively participating together. And I like, I'll go back for a second, but I like Kahoot's okay, but I really like Quizzes better. If y'all haven't investigated that one is one of my favorites. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about that station rotation model there. Okay, I love Catlin Tucker. I have most of her books, I do believe. I have a link here to her video that you can go and watch later where she talks about how she builds her station rotation. And what I like about her too is that she's actually a secondary teacher. So it's really unusual. You don't see it a lot in secondary. We'd love to see more of this where the teacher's not lecturing the whole time or doing the whole lesson, but the students are rotating and working in those stations. And when you see her classroom, it's just amazing. I love how she does that rotation with the stations with her secondary. But one thing that she says is this: go horizontal with your lesson. And what she means is when teachers usually plan linear, they just kind of write it out and they go kind of like this. She takes it this way, and what she does is when she lays out her lesson, she then takes that middle chunk and she thinks, how can I take those same things that I would normally do in my lesson and turn it into a station? So it really isn't that the teacher has to reinvent everything. All they're doing is rethinking how they are developing that lesson. And so what I did on here is we've kind of taken that same, what you saw a minute ago here on that linear or going in a line, and I took that middle section and we kind of chunked it here. This is their station rotation section where they would rotate through. We see a lot of teachers that are doing maybe just 2 stations. So I've got here as an example of 3 stations, but if you really just want to do 2, to truthfully work and check, and the flexible work time could be, you could just pick one today and I'll do that independent practice and I'll do this one tomorrow. But I love making sure you always have that collaboration feature or station as one of them, because we want those kids working together. All right, so watch what you can do with this slideshow. So up here on the top where it says your check-in or warm-up. So when you look at this on your own later, you can click here on check-in or warm-up. And we've got a link to some things that they can use when they're planning out their lesson for that student engagement. So for this one, excuse me, we're talking about how are you going to assess real fast at the beginning of the lesson, you know, do they remember what we did yesterday? Do they remember? So some great ways is to build a quizzes or a Kahoot. But here's a new one that I've just started playing with, and it's called 99math.com. It is very similar to Kahoot, except it's all math focused. So all the lessons that are made in here that are already done, let me just kind of go to that one for just a second. It's free, but everything is math. So this is actually for 1st through 8th grade teachers or classrooms to use, where they can do math problems in the same fashion as Kahoot, where they're competing against each other. Schoology Assessments, a great way to get a quick check. Google Forms, and oh, I love Nearpod, but this is a spinner. I put it here because you could also use this as a warm-up activity, and I'm going to just go to it. I found this one the other day, and what it's exercises, but you can change these, and so maybe you don't want to do these. You can take those off like that. You can make your own in there. So maybe I want to say hop on one leg, and I put that, so I put that in there. All right, so now, and there it is. This is a great way to get those kids up and moving, to periodically throughout your lesson to get their focus, their attention back, is just to say, okay, we're going to spin this, and we're going to see what it says. And maybe it is that hop on one leg. And so we're going to say, okay, can you hop on one leg for, you know, 30 seconds? Anyway, I liked throwing that in to kind of keep that attention span as you see kids starting to not be engaged. Just do a quick spin it and get them up and moving to get that engagement back in. Okay, I'm going to click on, hold on, let me go over here to my back button, and that'll take us back. So the next thing is mini lessons. And so what I included on here is, you know, earlier I was talking about how that article I had read about student engagement increasing when the teachers were pre-recording. I found a great video, I actually found it last night. As I was reviewing this lesson. This is a video y'all can watch later. It is actually using one that I'm going to show you in just a second, but this is her doing an asynchronous lesson. She just records it so the kids can watch it. What I liked when I was watching it, she was holding up a cake pan and had magnetic letters in it. She said, if you don't have it right now, pause my video and go find that. What a great way for them to pause, go get their materials, come back and watch. And what's cool about the videos, the pre-recorded lessons being in there, is the kids can go back and watch it more than once. I happen to love Screencast-O-Matic. If you decide to purchase it, it's cheaper than Screencastify, because with Screencastify you only get 1 year for like $30-something, where with Screencast-O-Matic it's maybe 40-something, but you get 3 years. So it works out to be a little cheaper. Some people have really liked using Loom. So these are 3 great tools that your teachers can use to pre-record their lessons for their instruction. All right, let's look at now, our station work. As I said, you want to make sure you have one station be set up, so it is your collaboration station where the teacher or the students are working together. But these 2 over here, you could just do work and check today, and maybe tomorrow you'll do collaboration and flexible work time. I like to think of this flexible or my independent practice station as my online station. That's where I'm going to build in activities that they're going to go online and do. Where my other 2 stations are offline, except for our Klein online, but are more for the kids in the classroom would be my more of my offline stations that they would be working together on. So when you click on collaboration, I loved as a first grade teacher that Storyline Online. I used it a lot, but what I love is Catlin Tucker has made this little activity to go with it. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And what I like about this is you can assign an online story for them to listen to. And then for collaboration, now that group of 4 or 5 kids can work together to complete some of these activities. Maybe you're telling them for today's lesson, I want you to do slide number 4, where they're going to compare and contrast characters, or draw a picture of the setting. Well, the kids can now work collaboratively on this. But I love that Storyline Online, and I liked her little activity, so I threw that one in there. Jamboard's another great tool that teachers can use for collaboration. And as always, I love the discussion boards in Schoology because they can allow audio and video responses for our younger kids who can't type yet. They can record themselves. And think about our EL students and our special ed students and our dyslexic students. Those discussion boards allow them to not get bogged down with how to spell words. They can use the video or the audio and record themselves. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Did I do this one? Yeah. Okay, so once again, Jamboard's a great thing for the kids to work on, but here's the new one. I just found this one last night. Y'all may have already seen this before. It's called WordWork. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It is free. It is made by the UF Literacy Institute. But look at these virtual blending boards. I haven't, like I said, I just found this. I think I found it last night around 10:30 as I was reviewing this and looking at some articles. Isn't this cool though? Watch how they can do this. So I haven't played with it enough. I'm going to continue with my Google Drive. But so the kids can click this and they can make words. Let's see if it'll, see how it changes. So look at these little boards that they can build words with. There's one. They have some PowerPoint ones that you can manipulate and do just word sorts. Lots of little work mats. And I love down here, they have little videos that show you how to use this tool. Love this tool. I hope it's a new one that y'all haven't seen before. It was new to me, so I loved that one for kids. And for Nearpod now has a new feature where you can now take videos that you have recorded, or it can be YouTube videos, and you can actually embed questions so they can watch the video for so long. It'll pause the video and they have to answer a question before they can go on to the next part of the video. It's just like Edpuzzle, but it's better to me than Edpuzzle because Nearpod, you can do the video, and now you can hook in a draw it activity. You could hook in a one where they're going to I'm drawing a blank on the activities all of a sudden. Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But you can build in more activities than just the video with the questions. You can put a quiz into Nearpod. So lots of little things that they can do. All right, let me click on my back here. All right, so, and then your flexible work time. Once again, I put that Storyline Online with that. This would be a great, if you have not been to Boom Learning, you might have heard a few teachers talking about Boom cards. A lot of them are free. They do have some you can buy and purchase. I love Seesaw for independent time. I also like Go Formative. All of these, anything in Schoology is a great way for them to do for that independent time. As I said, I like to think about my flex time, one of my stations to be my online station where I might have 4 or 5 kids on computers while my other kids are either working with me, like this work and check where I'm watching them work and making sure they're doing the work, or the collaboration station. Okay, and then we also have, and let me watch how we're doing on time here, this little exits ticket, back on that again. I think we've already kind of covered this, but lots of little activities that you can do there, because this one kind of can go, you can use it for your warm-ups or your exit ticket. Okay, let me see if I can go down. Oh, gotta go one more. Okay. So then what I did was I took that same plan and I thought, now how would I as a teacher build this out? And the link that I have right here is from the curriculum container. I went to the Klein curriculum container. I actually went into math, first grade math, because I was a first grade teacher. And this was a playlist that I found in the curriculum container. So I looked at all of the activities on here, and then I took these activities and I built a lesson. So for my quick check and my warm up, I looked at those activities and I thought, okay, so I want to see if they understand how to make 10. So I might say, get out a piece of paper, and then they do that, and I say, tell me a way to make 10. And somebody comes up with 6 plus 4 or 6 and 4 as a way to make 10. And then I say, oh, that's great. And then we brainstorm a little bit. And then I say, okay, you'll have 2 minutes to, on your paper, think of as many ways as you can to make 10. That's my little quick check and warm up on the lesson. Now for my mini lesson, maybe I have them, we're going to all watch this little video about counting on, and then I'm going to create this little anchor chart. All of these things that I got out of here, see there's the anchor chart little poster that I got there. And what I like about anchor charts is when you make an anchor chart, take a picture of it, upload it into Schoology for those Klein Online students, a media album called Anchor Charts, where they can go to always have access to those anchor charts that you're putting up in your classroom. So then we do another little activity here where we practice on our number lines with more than one. All right. Now I'm ready to divide them into their stations. So for their collaboration station, I would explain to them how they're going to work together and play this little game. They're going to use some dice and a coin. Then they're going to practice making their group and adding one more or two more. Then for their work and check, I have them go to this little document, or actually they wouldn't go to it, but I would show them this little document. I actually have a little page here that I would have printed out or put into Schoology that they can use Kami for, and now they're going to use cubes and they're going to practice by themselves working on this. Oh, I didn't mean to hit that button. Sorry there. All right. Now for your flex time or that online station that I like to make, they're going to watch this little video and go to this website. And that video is one that I found on here on the curriculum playlist. Okay. Now they're going to play that game. And next, I'm going to assess to see if they understand, and I'm going to either do a Nearpod lesson with the whole class for a little quick little thing to find out, or I could play a little Kahoot, or that one that I found, that 99math.com, and do a little math activity to assess whether they know what they're doing. So I took the Klein, I went to the Klein curriculum, I looked at their playlist, and then I took that station rotation model here, and I just took that same stuff and built it out as my lesson. Okay. So how are y'all doing and thinking about, so as we think about what we were just talking about, how, and we can, let me pull up my Zoom faces here. I've kind of had y'all muted because I don't know about y'all, but it's hard to do Zoom when y'all see all these, when you're trying to see all the people. So I always hide the faces. But so think about this. How comfortable do you think your teachers are with implementing station rotation in their classrooms. And y'all can come off mute if y'all need to. Shout it out.
Karen, I feel like this was speaking my language here. This is something that we're struggling with that we needed more guidance on. So your stuff will be wonderful to share.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to chime in and say this is exactly, these are the discussions we've been having even as a leadership team that our teachers are struggling with, because they are trying to be live too much of the time.
That's right.
And it's making their lives harder, and it's making the students' lives harder. And it's their teacher heart that can't sort of let go of it. And we know exactly where they're coming from, but it's also just not a reality that they can sustain. So a lot of this will be so helpful. It's already things that we were talking about trying to create, or, so we are really going to be able to use a lot of what you shared and just kind of turn it around and hopefully give it to teachers. And hopefully it will feel like something has been lifted, a weight has been lifted. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so y'all have this link, and I want y'all to bookmark this so you can get back to it or make a copy of it. But feel free to, show them how they can take those pieces, and hopefully those sections where I showed you what apps and things they can use for this portion of the station. And
Karen, can you reshare the bit.ly? It didn't link.
Yes, I will put it
in the chat.
I'll get back. I'll put it back. Oh, there it is. Let me copy it.
Karen, I see your recording. Do we have access to this once we're done here?
I am recording it. Of course, it's going to be a 3-hour long one, but maybe I can cut it in half. But yes, we're recording it, so we can put it somewhere where y'all can watch this.
Okay, yes. 'Cause just some reason you just sound better saying it all than I probably.
Well, that's what I was thinking, Lindsay. You know what I was thinking, Karen, is whenever you come around to our campus, this might be something that's also discussed with the mini lessons and all that, and the breaking apart and all that.
Well, and I will tell you that we are meeting with each of the elementaries, have 2 blended learning champions. And so I'm going to do the same lesson with them in a couple of weeks. So we're going to have them also trained in this so that they will know what we're talking about with all this too.
Karen, one thing that we've found, and I'm sure it's happening across the district, is that the students that are flip-flopping back and forth going, they're on campus officially, and then they, stay home for whatever reason, or they go to Jamaica, and and they don't have the knowledge of the Schoology. They don't have a device, perhaps. And then the teachers have to completely stop and, talk through these students who are, that is just another obstacle that they're facing.
Yeah, and that's why I like the fact with the pre-recorded. And when y'all go back to that one where and I'm going to try to flip back on it. Oh, sorry, let me do it this way. If I can remember where it was, but that lesson, that word work thing that I found the other day, let me find that one. This lady right here, I liked watching her. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I liked how she was telling her, pause this video. But pre-recording those videos, if you put them in Schoology, then when those kids, you'll have to maybe guide them, but they're there for them to watch and rewatch and watch again. Because we know some of our kids need to see it 3 to 4 times, but where they're going to have those big gaps if you're doing everything on Zoom and it's not ever posted somewhere where they're going to be able to get back to it. So trying to do those short little pre-recorded things that the kids can always have access when they get into Schoology, although that doesn't help when you're saying they may not have a device or all of that. I know we're seeing a lot of struggle with, not so much if they have a Klein device, but what's happening I see is if they're trying to use a computer at home that's 7 years old and the teacher is trying to figure out, well, I don't know why you can't get to that link, and you know, those tech issues are hard as well. But I don't know how to solve that one when they're trying to use a device that's not built for, you know, not up to speed.
Karen, I just want to say thank you for this session. Like everybody else mentioned, I feel like, yes, you hit it right on the nail. The way you organized it, the way you explained everything and took it step by step, the visuals, I feel like a lot of things clicked for me.
Okay.
And I also feel like my teacher heart started beating again.
Oh, yay, yay, I'm glad to
I
hear
feel
that.
excited. I can't wait to coach this next teacher and start trying things out together as a team to make this a reality in the classroom.
Okay,
So thank you.
great. Well, I'm glad that y'all got a lot out of it. So the next guiding question too was, what other supports? Oh, well, let's go on to the next one, because I know, what other supports do you think your teachers need to help them? But on the last slide here where it says questions, click here. There's a form we have where you can put your name and your question. If we don't have the answer, you can always come back to that form there too, but we'll try to put the answer in there. We also have, because I saw somebody say Zwink has some great examples of level up boards and oh, great. So Becky, see this form right here? So it says here, seeing great things on your campus. We have that form. Kaylee, I think we're sharing it in all of these today, or at least Kaylee and I are sharing it in ours. There's a form here where you can tell us who you're seeing that's doing these things so that we can come out, either take pictures, you know, video maybe, or so we can start sharing these ideas out to other campuses so they can see. Yeah, I know all of 4th and 5th grade. Lindsay.
That's Wink.
Is Wink, yes.
Yeah.
Emily, she's really great over there. Yeah, they all got a lot. You've got some awesome teachers in those grade levels that I'm sure are doing. I saw a lot of awesome things they were doing even pre-COVID.
Yes, yeah,
there.
they're great. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and fill that form out though, so we have their names, and and I know Emily, I think is your all's, Emily Bento, isn't she your? Bino, yeah.
She's one of the blended learning champions.
Yes, yeah. And we'll be, like I said, we're going to do this exact same, these lessons we're doing today with them in a couple of weeks so that they have that information, and they will also be a great support. We're hoping as they start doing these things on their campuses, it'll start spreading to other grade levels as well.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, what time? I'm trying to see how we're doing on time. We still have, we're out of time. Okay. Okay, guys, that was great. All right, so y'all make sure you bookmark this so you have it, and my email, if y'all need me, just email.
Thank you so much.
Rest of the day.